At the end of every month here on this channel, I like to tell you about all the best stuff Netflix is going to be adding in the upcoming month, and August adds quite a lot. Now, unlike usual, there's no big projects releasing this month. Rather, there's a bunch of little ones you've likely never heard of. This video is sponsored by BetterHelp, but I'll tell you more about them later in the video. I first want to tell you about all the stuff getting added on August 1st, which is where they add most of the things you're familiar with. Movies like the first 5 Fast and the Furious flicks. I'll say, if you kind of fell out of these early on in the series, they got much better as they progressed. The 4th and 5th being among some of the best movies in the entire franchise. The 2nd and 3rd maybe being among some of the worst. They're also releasing a new remake of a movie called The River Wild. This will have the same name, but the original actually starred Meryl Streep, Kevin Bacon, John C. Reilly as a fantastic bad guy. Honestly, this will probably feel more like a made-for-TV movie, but the first one was absolutely fantastic, so this one at least has a decent story to start with. Before moving on to some other genres, also in the action category, you've got Non-Stop, starring Liam Neeson, one of his more fast-paced action movies. And then Terminator Genisys, one that I just absolutely loathed. Maybe not the worst in the entire Terminator series, but it's definitely down there with the worst. I mean, they still have Terminator 2 Judgment Day, a movie 100 times better than Genisys. But if you need a good laugh, they're going to be adding The Jerk, a movie I don't think I've ever seen available on Netflix.
He hates these cans! Stay away from the cans!
They're also going to be adding Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which I have a suspicion it's because there's a big Matthew Broderick project releasing later in the month.
Geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
For rom-com fans, they're adding No Strings Attached and Just Go With It. And if you like your romance movies to be a little more serious, they've also got Eat, Pray, Love and Lost in Translation.
Does it get easier?
No. Yes.
I know the kids are back in school soon, and they've got plenty for them this month, including Despicable Me, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, which is a really funny movie, and B-Movie, starring the voice of Jerry Seinfeld, one of the weirdest animated children's movies I think I've ever seen. They've also got another big kids movie coming out much later in August. I'll tell you about that when we get to that portion of the video. But then to wrap up everything getting added on the 1st, they're coming back with Untold, a sports docu-series that focuses on a different story every single week. The first one, dropping on the 1st, is actually about Jake Paul's boxing career, which no matter how you feel about that guy, it should make for an interesting story. And then they'll have new ones on different topics releasing every single week in August. And believe it or not, Netflix is bringing back Pawn Stars for season 14. A brand new season of the show if you're not tired of the other 13 seasons that have been floating around in syndication for decades. So a couple of years ago, not long after becoming a full-time YouTuber, I decided to do something I've never done in my life before: talk to a therapist. I'll spare you the details, but after years and years of trying to figure it out on my own, I decided to talk to a professional that ultimately gave me the tools to approach life in a drastically different way. And today, I'm a much happier and healthier husband and father, which is really important to me, which is why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more accessible and affordable, which is really important because it can be expensive and it can be really hard to find a therapist no matter where you are, but especially if you live in an area where you don't have a whole lot of options. BetterHelp may really be your best option. And just by answering a few simple questions, BetterHelp will be able to match you with a professional therapist in as little as just a few days. And when I did therapy, I did it remote, which I thought was great. I was in the comfort of my own home. I didn't have to go to a building, sit with someone face to face, and it worked really well for me in a fairly short period of time. And if you don't like the therapist they pair you up with at first, you can switch for free. You don't have to worry about matching up insurance or who's in your network or anything like that. It's super easy to sign up and get matched up with a therapist. Just use the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/flickconnection. Just clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. So if you feel like something is interfering with your happiness or preventing you from reaching your goals, consider talking to someone and click that link in the description to get that 10% discount. It could be the first step to a brand new you, but speaking of new stuff, let's talk about all the new stuff Netflix is adding this month. Netflix makes a lot of really great documentaries, but Poisoned, The Dirty Truth About Your Food, could possibly be one of the most important ones we watch all year. This is about how safe or unsafe the food supply is in the United States. It looks like some pretty chilling stuff, so be warned going into this one, it may actually change up the way you eat. And we're not talking about just health food stuff here, we're talking about life-threatening stuff that's in the food supply. Hopefully this is actually informative and gives us stuff we can act on and isn't just doom and gloom propaganda.
I ate a salad and now I have long-term health effects from it.
On the 3rd, The Lincoln Lawyer returns for the second part of season 2. A real great courtroom drama for people who used to love those on cable TV. And then the 8th adds a couple of interesting products, including Ladies First, which is actually a documentary about women in hip-hop. Hip-hop aficionados, this is going to be a must-watch for you. I've only seen clips and they focused all on Queen Latifah. I'm not sure who else is included in this, but again, hip-hop folks, this is gonna be right up your alley. And then if you like weird stuff from South Korea, there's a new reality game show called Zombieverse, which is really just people competing in some physical games with zombies running around. Even if it's not perfect, it sounds like a blast to watch on Netflix. And then on the 10th, that big Matthew Broderick project I mentioned, it's called Painkillers. This is about the opioid crisis in America, but it's a limited drama series where Broderick actually plays the head of a big drug company. This is a real serious subject matter, obviously, and the show looks like it has a little bit of fun with it. Not quite sure about the tone. I'm sure they take it fairly seriously, but a more serious documentary on Netflix about the same topic is called The Pharmacist, and I think that documentary did a great job of not giving you the whole picture, but giving you a really good look at the opioid crisis in America. That one's got some years on it. I'm only mentioning it in case this new show is a little wonky and not as informative as it maybe should be. Now, I said there were no big projects releasing, which wasn't totally true. On the 11th, there is a big action movie starring Gal Gadot. I just personally don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, I really liked the first Wonder Woman movie with her in it, and that might be the only thing I've really liked that stars her, so as much as I would love for this to be good, it looks kind of like your run-of-the-mill Netflix action stuff, which, let's be honest, there are exceptions, but for the most part, Netflix original action movies have proven to be pretty not great. And even though I definitely love me some action here on this channel, I also highly recommend Paddington. This is a fantastic family movie if you've yet to see it. It is entertaining for adults all the way through, yet it's really wholesome, something you just don't get a whole lot of anymore. Then on the 15th, they're actually adding BUELLER'S season 1 through 5, which is an HBO series starring The Rock. In this series, he actually plays a sports agent for some football players. This isn't directly based on anyone in real life, but there are similarities to some real players and agents. And yeah, it's been on HBO for years and it's already been concluded, but if you've never had HBO and you're a football fan, this will make a fantastic binge watch in August. And then on the 16th, something I'm personally interested in, Depp versus Heard. Now, I followed this case back when it was actually happening and watched a lot of the trial play out in real time, so it'll be interesting to see it condensed down into a limited series. If you did not follow the case, I can promise you it's a wild one, and not just because they're both insanely famous, or rather he's insanely famous. I mean, there is explosive stuff that happened in that courtroom, and it came out in kind of a slow pace over weeks and weeks, so again, to see it condensed should be pretty electric stuff.
On my side of the bed was human fecal matter.
If that's not for you though, they are adding another docuseries called At Home with the Furies, which actually follows Tyson Fury's family. So fight fans, that's gonna be a great one for you. And then the other movie for the kids I mentioned is a new release titled The Monkey King. This is a Netflix original. Looks like mediocre stuff, not necessarily something I'm recommending for adults to watch, but it's the one you could put on for kids that week when it comes out. And then on the 23rd, they're adding probably one of the best movies of the entire month, The Big Short. Now, while this is an excellent movie about the 2008 housing market crash, or rather, people who were betting against it, this movie is actually available for free on YouTube right now. I just released a video about all the best movies that are free on YouTube. If you missed that episode, I'll put a link in the description. The 23rd adds a new British thriller crime series titled Who is Aaron Carter? It looks a little bit like made-for-TV action stuff again, but if you're into spy thrillers, especially British spy thrillers, this could be a fun watch. And then Adam Sandler's latest project, he's got one every couple of months with Netflix it seems, actually stars his daughters in You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. Now, this is a movie not marketed towards people like me. It's definitely a tween or teenage girl-centric movie, but it's kind of cool that Sandler's wife and daughters are starring in this, and Idina Menzel plays his wife. The significance of that is she was playing his wife in the movie Uncut Gems as well. So for a coming-of-age movie about a teenage girl as a Netflix original, this one's actually got a lot going for it. Then before telling you about everything leaving for the month, they're adding 2 interesting projects on the 31st. One is actually an interactive romance show called Choose Love. It looks kind of like a romantic comedy type thing, but with your remote, you'll actually get to make decisions. I've seen them do this for things with kids, and it's a lot of fun. I've yet to see it done for adult-centered entertainment, so this one's piqued my interest a little bit. And then another big project, One Piece. This is actually a live-action series based on a Japanese anime. Now, personally, I've liked some of the live-action adaptations Netflix has done, but I understand that anime fans have hated almost all of them, so I'm actually not sure why they're even making this. Apparently, it's pretty highly anticipated, but for some reason, anime fans always hate these projects when they release. Just as an example, I thought Cowboy Bebop was actually a really cool live-action adaptation. This looks like it's in a similar vein, and while that was kind of a massive failure, people are excited for this one. Now, here is everything leaving in the month of August. If you're new to the channel, welcome, but the date listed is the date that it is gone, which means you can't watch it on that date, you need to watch it sooner. By the way, I put out new videos like this once or twice a week, every week, so I like to make sure my viewers never run out of good movies to watch. But thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. If you feel like you need to talk to somebody, again, go check out that link in the description down below. But I will keep making these videos as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking out this special Netflix episode, and you will see me on the next one.